think I just scared half the crowd. The other half had a heart attack. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the first meeting of 2021 of the Rotary Club of Des Moines. It's not a new Rotary year, and I'm not your new president. I'm past President Sean Mullen, filling in for President Doug. We send our heartfelt sympathies to Doug and his wife Val on the recent passing of Val's brother. Today is the funeral, so Doug could not be with us today. We are glad to be at the Wakanda Club with those of you who are recovering from the loud bell clang, who are here in person, and those of you who are watching live stream on YouTube. Welcome all of you. And as always, thanks to our friends at Invictus Media for helping us create the online experience. They do such a wonderful job, and we're glad to have them as a part of our team. I'm not wearing a mask right now while I'm here at the podium so that you can hear me more clearly, and since I'm safely distanced from all of you, and I think we've all agreed that I just look better without a mask. So, the peanut gallery is still here. We will be sanitizing the microphone between speakers, and we do ask that you keep your masks on when not eating or drinking or speaking from the podium or the microphone. Friends, I would invite those of you who are here with us live to stand as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the four-way test Rotarians pledge, that is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? Please wave to your fellow Rotarians online. Fist bump or elbow bump as you're here, and certainly want to be welcoming all of you here as well as those on the live stream. Now, for the last 2 weeks, we have held fellowship meetings hosted by fellow talented Rotarians, and thanks to all of our hosts who participated, I think we had a lot of fun. And speaking personally, last week, I hosted an online home wine making kit experience. And I think we had 12 or 13 that were online, and we just had a great fun. It was just a wonderful time. If you'd like to be a part of that, I've sent the link to the presentation to Kitty, and so she can send that out to you, and you can see what that's like. I'm sorry that I won't be able to provide those of you who want a bottle of wine of this batch. I've just reserved that for those who were live and on time, live at that time. But who knows? Something else may come of that as we go along. So it was a lot of fun, and I hope the other experiences were just as rewarding. So now some of the meetings, as I said, were recorded so that we can share those links. And if you were not able to attend any of those, but you'd like to be a part of that, Kitty's going to post that up in the e-bulletin for next Tuesday, I believe, is that when that's going to happen. We want to welcome fellow Rotarian Chris Anderson to the microphone, who has something to share with us. Chris hosted a fellowship both on the 7th and the 14th. Chris?
Thank you, Past President Sean. We took an informal poll over at our table about Sean saying that he looks better without a mask. We actually took a secret vote, and this is what we all voted. So just make note of that for the record. So in any event, we had a really good time last week. I actually hosted trivia on Zoom, and it was cutthroat. But we were very, very pleased to announce that Matt Unger won the trivia contest. And as promised, Matt, if you're watching, we actually have an award for you that we're going to hold hostage here until you're able to make it. You're sharp as a tack. So that's the award you get. There's already been some conversation about continuing on with the trivia challenge, so we may do that as well. So if you're interested, please let me know. And as I've told certain retired attorneys in the room that would like specific topics discussed, I am open to bribes. Thank you.
Wonderful way to raise money for the Rotary Club of Foundation of Des Moines. Let those bribes pass through. Friends, it's my honor to welcome fellow Rotarian Cherian Koshi to the microphone, who will introduce today's keynote speaker. Cherian?
Tiffany was born in St. Louis, but grew up in Iowa, so I think we can consider her an Iowa native. Acting is not a job for Tiffany, but rather a passion. It gives her a unique opportunity to ask tough questions, raise awareness on issues, and many times walk right up and touch that elephant in the room. In 2015, Tiffany became one of the founding members of the Pyramid Theater Company, which was established to serve as a gateway for the arts and to enhance the experience by illuminating the presence of Black artists and providing opportunity for more diverse artistic expression. Tiffany made her directorial debut in 2016 with Pyramid Theater's first production. She now serves as the artistic director of Pyramid. More than anything, Tiffany loves to give of herself to her community, and she firmly believes as you empty your vessel is filled. She also believes it takes a village to raise our children, to support our communities, and to nurture our tomorrows. She intends to use her gifts to make room for others to utilize theirs. Last year, Tiffany became the ISU Theater's 2020 and 2021 Artist in Residence. She facilitated a project, Perform the Protest, last fall, and will direct a soon-to-be-announced performance in the spring of 2021. Please welcome my friend, Tiffany Johnson.
Director of Pyramid Theater Company, which is the only Black theater company in the state of Iowa. Our mission at Pyramid is to provide a gateway to the arts for the Des Moines community by illuminating the presence of Black artists in the theater canon, and then to provide a means of artistic expression to emerging Black voices. We commit ourselves to the tenet of Sankofa, which is from the Akan language of Ghana, meaning it is not taboo to go back and retrieve what is in danger of being left behind. We believe that the retelling of the stories of the past will empower today's storyteller to continue to use this form of art to inform the present and hopefully the future. The video that we hope that you'll be able to see today before we leave today is sharing a timeline of what Pyramid's journey of storytelling has been for the last 7 years, with just a hint of what we plan to look forward to and what we plan to embrace for the future. It is imperative and important to us as an organization to utilize our platform to help tell the story of our current time and to suggest to our audiences that we are the authors of now, and the way that we embrace that and each other will determine how this story will be told to those who will come once we are gone. Pyramid was founded in 2015, August, after having done a couple of co-productions with the Des Moines Social Club. I have to call the names of the founding members out, as it is important to me to always recognize the individuals that birthed a dream together. Ken Matt Martin, Jeray Breon Holder, who is now known as Montserrat, Alexis Davis, Claudine Cheatham, Freddie Fulton, and Nana Coleman. We started Pyramid with only a dream and literally not $1. But that dream became our baby, and that baby is growing up. We came together because we realized that we were in a very marginalized area and we ourselves didn't have opportunities to perform Black or cultural art often, if at all. And we also realized that we had so many talented people in our city that didn't have the platform to see or use their gifts. And they were beautiful, and they deserved to be shared and experienced. Historically, art has told a story of the time that can be lived by the artist. I would argue, and can be probably quoted by students and friends of mine as saying, the lens of an artist will record and tell history much better and more honestly than even historians report, because they are living in the time. They are being emotionally, mentally, and spiritually affected by what they are living and compelled to create something that allows them to express that. It's sometimes painful, it's sometimes joyful, but it's most oftentimes very real. This is especially true when it comes to Black theater. And as I speak to you today, I will give examples as to how art has been used as a catalyst or a precipitator to promote social justice and change. The beginning forms of Black theater really wasn't that Black at all. It was called minstrel, later vaudeville theater, and performed by white people who used oil, dirt, and other substances to quote-unquote blacken their faces. This form of theater started in the early 1800s and was created to depict stereotypes of slaves and to ridicule them for entertainment purposes. One of the first known minstrel characters was created by a white performer by the name of Thomas Rice. The man's name, the character's name, was Jim Crow. This is 1828, and the show was called Jumping Jim Crow. Does that name sound familiar? Probably, but we'll touch on that just a little bit later. 1828 was just under 40 years prior to the abolition of slavery. At this time, people of my color had absolutely no rights as human beings. However, they began to use these people to perform in these plantation shows for the entertainment of the owner's guests or on holidays or special occasions. Black men would have to then perform making a mockery of themselves and portraying the stereotypes that were assumed by the writings of white men. Blackface minstrel or vaudeville theater became a permanent part of the American landscape, with some of those characters like Uncle Ben or Aunt Jemima finding their way to today. Okay, so now let's move to the late 1800s, around 1860, when Abraham Lincoln was elected as the President of the United States. Right after that inauguration, the Civil War began. This is when the first thoughts of the abolition of slavery occurred. And some would argue, only being thought about because they needed to be able to utilize Black men to flip the scales in the war. In 1862, Congress annulled slave laws and allowed freed slaves to be enlisted into the Army. And then in January of 1863, Abraham Lincoln delivered the Emancipation Proclamation, named the laws that prohibited Black people from working, voting, or being educated after a theater character. Post-Civil War, Black men began to decide to make money themselves off of minstrel theater and began performing themselves as comedic acts. Comedians like Burt Williams or Ernest Hogan became what they called Black vaudevillians, and they began blacking up to perform for primarily white but segregated audience where Black people sat in the back or in secluded areas. These performers were adored by white audiences on stage, yet would be subjected to the harsh treatment that the rest of the Black world experienced just as soon as they stepped off that stage. This was Jim Crow South. Lynchings were happening. Beatings were happening. And we were still quite far away from where we needed to be as human beings. Yet these artists used their performances not only to entertain, but to speak to their own people from the stage. They spoke in their own cultural language to the Black people and tried to encourage them to keep their heads up even during very turbulent times. This is where Black art started to mean something to Black people. It started to record their experience and to speak to it, and it grew stronger and stronger over time. Do you see how art is beginning to be used to send information, to empower, to encourage, and to provoke change. Moving forward to the early 1900s, we approached the time known as the Golden Age in Black culture, the Harlem Renaissance. This was after the Great Migration, where many Black people had migrated north to hopefully achieve the American dream. People of color were moving in large numbers and beginning to populate northern regions like Chicago, Washington, D.C., and New York. This period was stated to have shaped Black art, music, literature, and culture for all times. The talent that emerged during this period has no doubt stood the test of time. Artists, writers, literaries, and musicians like Langston Hughes and Countee Cullen, Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, Cab Calloway, and Josephine Baker. These artists paved the way for every artist of color that came after them. They performed under tremendous discrimination and dangerous conditions, but they believed art and expression of culture was Black people's best chance at overcoming racism. Now, in the interest of time, I'll move forward. Jim Crow laws were removed in 1968. This was over a century after the abolition of slavery. Art and theater in this period was telling the story of what was happening in the world at large, and we see that happening over and over again throughout history. This period was the Black movement, or the Black Power movement. Black art, history, and people of this period began to address the challenges that Black people had been facing with regards to our own identities and our own culture. Trying to define that when they lived in a world and society that devalued and degraded them. Black people and their art at this time was filled with defiance. This was all post-World War II, when Black people were seeking to set themselves apart from European culture. During this time, history was being made in real time. The SCLC, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, was founded by Martin Luther King Jr. and a woman by the name of Ella Baker. They organized protests and boycotts with other religious organizations, leaders, and congregations. These were peaceful protests that were not ever met with peaceful response. The SCLC was responsible for the Rosa Parks bus boycott. However, although history reports Rosa Parks being the first to do it, was actually a young woman by the name of Claudette Cloven. She was a 15-year-old girl, pregnant, and had been a victim of rape. It was because she was not decent enough to present for a boycott that it was decided that they would reenact the boycott using Rosa Parks. This is another example of where history tells a more organized account of what happened, and art often tells a more accurate story. Plays like Raisin in the Sun by Lorraine Hansberry, my first play that I ever directed, was born during that time. It was written in 1959 and first performed in 1961. This play covered the Black family's experience when they attempted to change their lives using an insurance payout from the death of the husband and the father of the family. They wanted to experience the American dream that I spoke about earlier, but this was not met without resistance. This was the period of fair housing and addressed the disconnect and the discontent that we still have between color lines at the time. This play was telling the story of a real experience and that which is a part of the everyday life of Black America. This play spoke to Black people in a way that allowed them to find their solidarity, to know that they were not alone, but as a people going through difficult times. People that at the end of the day just wanted to live a life of hope and promise. This play was inspired by a poem written back in the 30s by Mr. Langston Hughes called Harlem, or Dream Deferred. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? Or fester like a sower and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat? Or crust and sugar over like syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load. Or does it explode? What happens to dreams that are deferred or put off, not realized? Does it somehow affect your person in a way that stunts your growth? Does it create a fury inside of you that burns and creates negative life experience? In what way can we as a community embrace the people that live within our communities in a way that not only creates space for them to see the realization of dreams is obtainable, but also enlighten, educate, and empower us all in a way that makes us better people, that helps bridge the gap of understanding, that ensures growth individually and collectively? You use art. You empower cultures to be the authors of their stories. You make it a priority to create space for organizations like Pyramid. At Pyramid, we don't just want to tell stories on stage. We want to use art as a vehicle to realize change in our communities. We want to empower our culture to see themselves illuminated and with a platform with which to share their lights, because we know and have witnessed personally, and with what we have seen since we started, we know we can change the outcome of things. If we share stories and discover how to talk to each other, how to accept truths not as criticism, but as room to lay to rest things that we've worked hard to hide from each other from fear. Fear of conversations and fear of the outcome of those conversations. When you can shine your light on one person in a way that shows them their gift, and then you can convince that one person that their gift can and will make room for them in this world, that one person goes home and changes the outlook of their entire family. That one person goes to work, maybe for one of you, and changes the atmosphere and the space in a positive way. That one person leaves their light on, and all of a sudden, everyone they encounter is also illuminated. That's exactly what Pyramid Theater Company has been doing and plans to continue to do. We are doing our part to show the value of art, the transformative possibilities that it possesses. We hope to continue to have support of you, our community, and we can use as much support as we could get so that we can always offer the platform for artists of color and offer these stories and opportunities to learn with and from each other, to grow with each other. Pyramid will soon be releasing our first short film. We've realized that even when we make it past this pandemic, that technology will continue to forge ahead, and we want to be with it. But we are also eager to get back to gathering and on stage as soon as possible, as we miss the human experience that we're able to create in real space. We will continue to develop artists in this community so that we're ready when that time comes. And we will also continue to challenge the artists of today to define what art looks like for this time and how we will tell the story when this time becomes history for the next generation. You are welcome to visit our website at www.pyramidtheater.org to keep up with what Pyramid's got going on. There's also a link to donate there, and please be assured that we would so appreciate your support in that way. And also, please stay tuned for the release of our first short film that we're working on, and we'd love to have you see. And last, I just want to thank you so much for your time today. I always look forward to telling the story of Pyramid. It's a story of passion, and it is quickly becoming the story of my life. I can take any questions that you guys have at this time. Thank you very much. Did I talk too long or too much? Oh!
Mindful of Sidney Poitier and the trail that he blazed to the silver screen, did he do theater before that, or how? Certainly he had a great effect on other black actors that come after him. I was curious if he did any theater and how that influenced others that maybe did theater before they went to the silver screen.
I don't know a whole lot about Sidney Poitier's early life before Silver Screen, but I do know that he has acting training and experience. He was known by the community as a great literary and great artist outside of just a performer. So I assume that he had influence in the area of theater, although I do not want to tell you that and then be called a liar later, because I've been doing good at keeping up with not lying.
Hey, Tiffany, thank you so much. Chris Anderson. Having the difficult conversations is never easy, and that's the reason why they're called difficult conversations, so I appreciate you coming and talking about that. I was beginning to sweat like a sinner in church over there because I thought you were talking directly to me. Then I realized I was in the sun, so I felt a little bit better about that. But tell us a little bit more. Obviously, we already have the title, The Last Supper. Can you tell us more about the film, or is that going to be kept under wraps?
I can tell you a little bit more about it. The film is literally an emergence project for Pyramid. It is our first attempt at doing something that is not theatrical or a theater production in its nature. So it was a very new and organic experience for all of us that were involved. The idea of the story was to not only create an opportunity to show non-black audiences some of the things that happen within the black community, some of the issues and turmoils that we deal with within our own communities, but also to speak to our black community as to how we can start to addressing some of these issues that cause discourse and distension and disconnect within our families. So that's kind of the premise of the film. We did use the pandemic, we did use the politics, we did use a lot of the things that are happening in the world right now, because we wanted to show people how art imitates life and how we can use that to have very difficult conversations during difficult times. Hey.
So I gotta say, I was really sad when pandemic happened and Having Our Say was canceled.
Yes.
Because that's actually my favorite. So my question is, when Pyramid's able to perform again, are you going to bring back that season? Fingers crossed, or are there new works that you're going to do, and are there ways to buy tickets in advance or anything like that?
So we really do want to bring that season back because we were so excited about being able to perform that. The thing about Having Our Say is that it also presents a very unique opportunity to do that type of work in this type of environment because it's a two-person show. And I can think of, I'm very creative, so I can think of very fun ways of telling that story in virtual and physical space. So, Cherian, just for you, I'm going to try to pull that one on back on the train. But we are not currently selling tickets right now. On our website, when we release the short film, we are going to release it behind a paywall. That paywall will just ask for donations. We will not charge traditional ticketing prices for that, as we want everybody that can and is able to be able to view the work. So we will just ask for a donation. It could be as small as $1 or as much as a person feels compelled to give to view it. And we're only going to run it for an exclusive period of time because we're also interested in seeing if we could submit some of these short films to film festivals and things that will give Pyramid opportunities to gain more national platforms. We're hoping to do that not only because we want to obviously uplift the organization that is Pyramid, but we also want to uplift the city and state that we live in. We're a very marginalized state. People don't expect this type of work coming from us. So we like to pop them in the chest a little time. Because, we're jokesters around here. We like to get down like that. So just when they think we didn't know anything about what we were talking about, we want to let them know we've got our finger on the pulse here, so don't worry about us.
Jamie Borsman, it's so nice. Thank you. What a lovely presentation.
Thank you.
But my question, and you may have said this and I just missed it. What's the size? How many artists involved?
In Pyramid?
Yes.
So that changes every year. We have 7 founding members that run the organization of Pyramid, and we're obviously we're a nonprofit 501c3, and we are governed by a board of directors. However, the number of people that we have changes every single year. It always depends on what work we're doing, how many we would have to cast for those particular shows, and how much support staff and production staff that we need to place around that. So the number is always different. But I will tell you something that's very unique about Pyramid is that once they've become a part of the Pyramid family, they're always a part of the Pyramid family. So we have probably well over 100 artists that are on a national scale at this point that we have worked with, created art with, and that we are looking to create art with going into the future. So we become a family of sorts. Thank you. Yes, you're welcome.
My name's Mark Snell.
Hi, Mark.
I have a difficult question that I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
And it relates to some references that you opened with in the early part when you're starting to describe the methodology for telling stories. And if I heard that correctly, it talked about how you really want to be able to continue to go back and pull that history or that story from the past forward, even if it may be painful. This is the difficult question. I mean this in all sincerity. I'm not trying to put you in a difficult way necessarily. I just wanting to understand, with that comment and that storytelling method, then how do you juxtapose those, position that against, say, the effort to take down artifacts and things like that that are around the country? We've had a bit of that this last year where some factions just all of a sudden want to erase all that history. Even if it's painful, that doesn't seem like the right thing to do, I don't think. But I'm just trying to understand that as it related to what you said and what your methodologies are.
That's a great question, Mark. Just because we don't need to memorialize horrible things in history doesn't mean people shouldn't know about them. We have, in order for us to be able to not recreate the wheel or not recreate experience, we have to learn, honestly, what the real story was and how it really happened. A lot of times in this world, we spend a lot of times indoctrinating people with information and not educating them. A lot of times the education that you receive is information that you seek and find on your own. Information about Black history, accurate information about Black history, and the empowering and entitling and resilient stories that are there, the things that people have been able to recover from, even in the most oppressive times. Black people deserve to hear those stories so that they can understand that they've been through difficult things, but they have overcome those difficult things. Memorializing them seems different to me. Memorializing means you're proud of it. And just because we did it, just because it happened, doesn't mean we should be proud of it. And doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to not repeat that type of stuff again. So to put it up on a memorialization and have somebody feel equitable, but they have to walk past that memory every single day, and it looks like the community upholds this instance because they're memorializing it, as opposed to being told that it happened and saying, but this is not the way that we want to live our world and our life and experience life going forward. So we're not going to memorialize what happened to you, but we do need to educate you and let you know that it did happen. That's the take that I have on it. And it's a personal thing, depending on perspectives. I had a conversation with a group of white people the other day, and I was telling them, I think sometimes you guys take this personally. Like when I tell the story of history, I'm talking directly to you, and I'm telling you that you did that. It's not that. It's just understanding that if you have a family recipe and the recipe's not that good, you can change the recipe and pass something forward better tasting, down to your legacy. And now we won't be talking crap about great-great-grandma's cookies because we fixed it. And your grandkids will never know how horrible they were, you know? That's all there is to it, is literally being willing to have a recipe, something that had been passed down to you from generation to generation, and empowering yourself to tweak the recipe and pass down something that tastes a little better than what you had. Any more questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tiffany, for that wonderful presentation and for being with us today.
Thank you.
Yes, it was wonderful. And for sharing such an interesting and informative and personal story. We really appreciate that. Now, we are donating the book, America's Black Founders, Revolutionary Heroes, and Early Leaders, to the downtown school in your honor. And so if you would inscribe a few words of encouragement to the students in the front cover, I'm sure they would appreciate that as well. So that's a good thing. So thank you all for being with us today, whether you're here in person or on the YouTube live stream. We really do appreciate that. Couple things. Larson, administrator of the Iowa Alcoholic Beverages Division, will be our guest speaker. February 4th, Capital City Fruit, Christian Comito, CEO, and Brent Addison, marketing director. We'll talk about their programs and their organization. And then on February 11th, our own Helen Miller with the Iowa Parole Board. And she's the chair of that, and she will be our presenter at that. Friends, before I close today, I'd like to take a moment of personal privilege since we did not have a moment of inspiration. But I feel strongly that yesterday, January 20th, was a significant day in many, many ways. And I think we would be remiss for not recognizing that in so many ways. And I think it's important to recognize that January 20th is a specific day, especially in Des Moines history, that I think would be interesting for us to remember that, especially given President Doug's interest in heavy metal rock music. But yesterday, January 20th, marked the 39th anniversary of Ozzy Osbourne biting the head concert at Veterans Memorial Auditorium. He later claimed that he thought it was a toy thrown to him by an audience member. He said that the animal must have been stunned by the lights of the stage or something when it was thrown on stage because it just froze. Osborne said that he thought it was a toy. I just put it in my mouth, then its wings started flapping, and I got such a shock. I tried to pull it out too quickly, and its head came off. When asked what it tasted like, he said it tasted all crunchy and warm, like a Ronald McDonald hamburger. After the show, Osborne reportedly went to Mercy Hospital, but was referred to Broadlawns Medical Center because a rabies vaccine was available there. He was given a tetanus shot and a rabies shot and took enough rabies vaccine home with him to complete the series, all according to our friends at the Des Moines Register. So, January 20th is an important day. Lord only knows what the 40th anniversary is going to bring. We only know that. So, friends, it's always good to see you. It's always good to be in person. Thank you for joining us online today. Thank you for being a part of the Rotary Club Des Moines, and we hope to see you again here soon. We are adjourned.